Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Miki.
And this is Puzzles, a How I Met Your Mother Re-Rewatch.
Each week, we'll be breaking down episodes of How I Met Your Mother, mostly spoiler-free, celebrating the show,
Critiquing it,
asking what aged well,
and what aged poorly.
Why is it called Puzzles, Nick?
That's the puzzle.
This is episode 12, Pause.
Hello, Miki.
Hi! We made it!
We did. One full season.
I'm really excited about the season 1 recap episode. I've got a lot of ideas. I've got a list of ideas going already, but I'm also possibly equally excited to talk about the finale itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got a glass of white wine in honor of Lily. It seems like that's what she always drinks at McLaren's, although maybe I shouldn't be honoring Lily because I think it has come down a little hard on her this episode.
Yeah, I think she's going to get the brunt of it more than Ted even. I am honoring nobody by drinking Coke Zero Cherry. So it's actually only been a few days since we recorded the last thing, but is there any updates on your end?
Yeah, this is probably the least amount of time we've gone in between recordings. We're just so close to the end. It's like being at the last few pages of a book, and I'm like, okay, I'm this close now. I can't really put it down and go do my dishes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the last few days have been fine. My poor husband got strep throat. So
From Kiki?
no, but my whole mission has been to make sure Kiki doesn't get it from him because she has an ear infection already. And I'm like, no, you're not getting both things. TV wise, like one of the days he was sick or one of the evenings he was sick, we just lay down and binged watched a bunch of Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, I forget, did you ever finish Last of Us or Andor?
Andor planning to come back to. The Last of Us, Ukrish and I think we decided we'd about had it after 2 or 3 episodes. We'd heard so many bad things about the season. I just ended up letting my sister-in-law spoil it for me. I was like, I want to know how it ends. I just don't want to get there.
Oh, yeah?
So you finished it, I think.
Yeah, well, and I've also watched the video game
Oh,
playthrough, everything that happens.
just thinking of myself.
I
Yeah.
spoiled next season, too.
Oh, there's going to be another season?
Yep. Next season is this season from Abby's perspective.
Oh, you know what? I think I did hear something about that. Well, and then maybe What's-Her-Face does die. I don't know. Listeners, I know this is a spoiler-free podcast, but it's not spoiler-free for The Last of Us. Yeah, does What's-Her-Face die? I don't care.
No. She gets very badly beaten, though, and Abby eventually decides not to actually finish her off and leaves.
I really just needed a spin-off with Ron Swanson and his husband. That's all I need.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on there?
Well, I started this documentary on Hurricane Katrina,
Ooh.
which is actually relevant to this episode.
Oh, well, I guess in a way, yeah. I was actually going to Google if that was like a real hurricane or storm. I forgot to.
No, I'll also go into that, too. I just watched the first episode and, that was a terrible, terrible time. And, all of the bad decisions people made going into it,
Really?
people who should have known better. And anyway, it's a 5-episode miniseries from National Geographic on Hulu. So I'd recommend watching it.
I would watch that. I like documentaries. I just, for whatever reason, don't get around to watching them as often.
Yeah, one thing that does sometimes bother me about these kinds of miniseries documentaries is that there's a little bit of an unfocused feel to how they try to cover multiple stories, and they kind of go back and forth in time over I'd rather go through the timeline or follow one person's story. But it's good so far.
What's it called?
Hurricane Katrina: Race Against Time.
Well, I might just check that out. Actually, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is we're going on a trip in a few weeks. I can download that, watch it on the plane.
Good idea. All right. Shall we get into the show?
Yes. Okay. So, listeners, we're on the last episode. So, we're going to do this. We're going to be breaking this in half. I'm going to be covering the first half of the episode. Nick will be taking over the second half. And then I'm sure we'll have a thorough discussion today.
Mm-hmm.
So, season 1 finale of How I Met Your Mother, air date was May 15th, 2006. Stars, we got Sandy Rivers back.
Sandy Rivers.
Love that I don't even bother to remember the actual actor's name. He's just Sandy Rivers. Alexis Denisa. And we've got another Angel alum here, Penelope, played by Amy Acker. Do you want to talk about her? other than the fact that we just both love her from Angel?
Yeah, I mean, she's been in, like, so many great things. Angel, Dollhouse, Person of Interest, Alias even.
A lot of stuff you like.
Yeah, and, like, a whole bunch of other things, like, small characters, but
Mhm.
yeah, no, she's great. I can't say enough good things about her.
Yeah. They did Fred dirty in Angel, but
Well, yes, but also I love the character of Illyria.
well, that would've been really fun as so if you have seen Angel, you'll know what we're talking about. If you haven't, this is gonna confuse the hell out of people listening, but must have been very cool for Amy Acker to basically just halfway into her tenure there, just play completely different character.
Yeah, and probably, like, completely against type even.
Yeah, she did really well, actually. She was really convincing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I have an episode description.
Oh, wait, before you do that,
Yeah.
just note the weatherman in this
Mhm.
episode, Robert Michael Morris, he was a dentist in one late episode of Arrested Development. I don't remember what the plot was, but
Hold on, this sounds familiar. There was, like, one of the Netflix seasons, somebody
no,
at
it was
the office.
for season 3.
There was a dentist in season 3?
The second to last episode, apparently. I forget what the
I
plot
have
was,
no
though.
memory of this, but good for Lou.
It must be time for a rewatch because there's just so I'm starting to forget certain scenes.
Episode description. Ted tries, quote unquote, one more time to woo Robin with a grand romantic gesture, with Barney's reluctant assistance. Meanwhile, Marshall finds out about Lily's art fellowship, forcing Lily to finally admit to her cold feet about the wedding. All right, so the episode begins with future Ted narrating over one of those classic establishing shots of New York City
Smooth jazz music too.
with some smooth jazz music. And he says that it was made 2006, New York City. Life was good, but some things were about to change. And now at McLaren's, the gang is sitting around. I noticed actually, I don't see food at their table a lot, but I did notice it looked like a plate of chicken wings this time on the table. And Ted says, "What do you think?" So this is clearly, we're picking up where we left off last episode, where Ted decides that he just has to have Robin. Ted ostensibly wants the gang's opinion about pursuing Robin again. I think one thing we've learned about Ted is that when he asks for someone's opinion, he's really asking for someone's validation. The gang is not giving this to him. Barney immediately starts discouraging Ted from dating Robin. He says that the universe doesn't want it, and if he pisses off the universe is going to slap him. Marshall agrees with Barney. Ted's like, "Oh, I think the universe has more important things to worry about." And Marshall's like, "Oh, well, maybe Ted's life somehow, like the whole like space-time continuum, like everything somehow hinges on this. Wouldn't that be a crazy theory?"
Which is pretty hilarious because that's exactly what the show is.
Actually, yeah, very self-aware. Marshall's like, "I'm living in a simulation." He's
He's like, "Chills. Do you guys get chills?"
This is really Black Mirror, you guys. Um, anyway, so they get into a little discussion about Ted's love life and the universe. But Ted says, look, it just always keeps coming back to Robin. And at that point, Barney literally tries to slap some sense into Ted. And Barney says, hey, it wasn't me, it was the universe. But apparently, the universe did have something it was working up in the form of a storm. So, cut to a news segment where Lou, the weatherman, is forecasting Tropical Storm Willie is apparently coming in. It's going to hit the city, which we decided was not an actual storm. That would be amazingly prescient. Prescient? Is that the right word? That'd be incredible if, like, the writers were able to tap into, like, the future of the weather for the purposes of storytelling.
Well,
Hey, there was one.
but not in that year.
Nope, it was in Vietnam in 1996.
Sorry, I'm looking for the name list.
Oh, are you looking for hurricanes from that year?
Yeah. Well, the ones that could have been named.
I forgot they actually named tropical storms. I thought it was just hurricanes. I see a hurricane list from that year.
Yeah, let me just launch into my hurricane facts here.
Oh, we got hurricane facts?
Yes. So here's the thing. Hurricane season starts in June, not May. So it's an exceptionally early storm. Also early for one to be in New England. And also tropical storms get named in alphabetical order according to a list that's generated every year.
Oh.
And this actually skips a few letters because there are very few names that go with them, like X. And W is actually the last one on the list. So in 2006, there would have been a William if it got that far, and it did not. But it would have been late in the season. However, interestingly enough, so this is This show came out in 2006. 2005, which included Hurricane Katrina, had 28 named storms, and they used the whole alphabet and went into Greek letters, ending with Zeta. And that one formed in December and dissipated early January 2006.
I had forgotten about the timing of this in relation to Hurricane Katrina.
Also, I'm just going to say that weather map they have is just complete crap.
Oh, I assume. Well, thank you, Nick. And wow, what a terrible year for New York if they were already on tropical storm, a W name by May when we're not even hurricane season yet. Well, anyway, Lou is reporting on Tropical Storm Lily. And then Robin and Sandy Rivers are wrapping up the evening news and saying that, oh, shucks, the Metro News One camping trip was going to be this weekend. Looks like it's going to get rained out. So they wrapped the news segment.
No fun, muddy, yuck.
Yeah. No fun, muddy, yuck, indeed. What's even less fun, muddier, and yuckier is that Sandy Rivers then proceeds to sexually harass Robin again in the workplace, immediately bringing up, oh man, I want to have sex with you again. So we don't have to do this today, but I had an idea for the next season. Mickey's Lawyered Corner. So
Sure, yeah.
yeah, so listeners, I don't know if you remember, but I am a lawyer. So every once in a while, I get really obnoxious and I have to pause the show and complain about why it's inaccurate. But anyway, I thought maybe I could take a quick moment just to address some of the problematic things legally that are going on here. I'm just going to go off the cuff here because I've done a fair bit of employment discrimination law, not in the state of New York, but I'm assuming the same principles essentially apply. But long story short, there are, and by the way, I need to preface this by explaining I am not providing, nor should this be taken as me providing legal advice. This is just my legal perspective on this fictional television show. Okay. So basically, in the workplace, there's two different types of sexual harassment. There's quid pro quo, and then there is essentially what's going on here is when the sexual harassment arises to a level of severe and pervasive harassment to the point that it becomes a sexually hostile work environment. And I'd say arguably, yeah, this is what's going on here with the latter. If Sandy made a comment like this one time to Robin, I mean, I would find that severe, but maybe the courts wouldn't. But if Andy Rivers is continually pestering Robin about going out on dates with him and, smoking his weenie with her and all these things that we've seen, and it's unwelcome, it would be unwelcome to if the conduct would offend a reasonable person, and then basically we're getting to this territory where it's become pervasive. It's she's kind of getting inundated with all this unwanted attention. So anyway, yeah, this is not only gross behavior, but potentially unlawful behavior under federal and I'm assuming also state law in New York. So that's my terrible and brief explanation of why Sandy Rivers should be fired and fired forever. So all sorts of issues here.
Thank you for that.
Yes, we're going to see in a few minutes, though. Maybe the attention now at this point isn't quite as unwanted, so that'll be interesting to talk about.
She did take him as a date to the awards.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a little bit of a history, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go back to McLaren's and Marshall.
Before we do McLaren's.
Yeah.
Just at the end of the scene with Sandy and Robin. So he says the banter got his freak juices going.
Yeah.
Banter was not that good.
No.
It must not take very exciting.
I think that's the joke, is it wasn't even banter. It was just a conversation, if that. Yuck, muddy, whatever he said. Well, anyway, at McLaren's, Marshall is strongly agreeing with Barney, saying, look, how many times do you have to watch this thing crash and burn? Ted decides he's going to go for it with Robin one more time, and then he's going to let it go. He promises. The game wants to know what Ted is going to do, and Ted jokes that he's going to make Robin a mixed CD. Just those. And then he asks Lily for a spare key. Barney interjects and says, okay, look, it all seems like a good idea to break into a girl's house and lay there waiting for her, nothing but whipped cream undies.
Naked Man.
Naked Man! Yeah, ooh, I can't wait for that episode. Yeah, 1 out of 3 times, right? But yeah, apparently this actually has worked on at least one occasion. Barney starts to tell the story, and Lily just hauls down and slaps him across the face and then says, universe! Very effective way to interrupt Barney. But then we get a flashback to the pilot where Ted steals blue French horn. Ted's reminding the gang of this. Marshall's like, yeah, no, that was objectively awesome, but how on earth are you going to top that? So we find out right away how he's going to top that, a blue string quartet. I actually thought that was a cute idea. I mean,
Okay.
It's over the top. We're gonna get into that, but if he was gonna go over the top, it was a really good inside joke.
I have some questions with the logistics of what he was thinking about here.
I'm gonna suspend my disbelief that he was able to find a string quartet that happened to have 4
Oh,
chords.
no, that's fine. I just
Oh,
think,
okay.
okay, well, what do you think's gonna happen after? He promised them pizza. How long were they gonna play? It's probably gonna seem overwhelming. So, yeah, it seemed like a good idea in theory that was never gonna be good in practice.
Knowing what he knows about Robin, especially. So, no, I actually I agree with you on that. We're definitely gonna talk about that. Yeah, my goodness, take a look at this apartment. So, there is a string quartet. They are wearing formal concert attire, tuxedos. There are roses everywhere, just bouquets of red roses all over the staying apartment. I gotta call out the giant TV that made me laugh.
What?
In Robin's apartment, there's like a giant box TV.
Oh, yeah. Different meaning of giant TV. Today, a giant TV is a giant flat thing.
Oh, yeah, no. What I mean by that is, like, kids, TVs used to be these bulky boxes.
Back in our day, we used to shoot extremely high energy electrons at a screen, and that exploded into lights, and that created our shows and video games.
I was on Instagram. They're in Colorado, they have a '90s museum, and I think we should go.
Okay.
So great. So Ted is, waiting with the quartet in the apartment. He's assuring them they should be here any second, and, we start this runner where the cellist, he's hangry. He keeps asking about, "Where are we gonna get our pizza? You promised us pizza." Robin is arriving, though. She's in the hallway. She starts, fishing around in her purse to retrieve her keys, and then she kinda sighs and, goes to call Lily. Meanwhile, Ted glances down to the coffee table and realizes, oh, dang, Robin actually left her keys in the apartment. So I guess maybe she left it from the inside when she left. Robin calls Lily to ask if she's got her spare pair of keys. Lily looks panicked and starts trying to, oh, give me a key? Oh, sorry, I lost it. So Robin sighs and she's like, okay, great. Now I have to call locksmith. But Lily says, no, no, don't do that. Why didn't you just try to knock? And Rom kinda jokes that, "Okay, look, my dogs are not that well trained." At that point, Marshall enters the apartment, and Lily and Marshall, they kinda smile and silently wave at each other, and then Marshall clicks play on the answering machine, and we hear a voice. It's a British lady
Right.
calling. Was she British?
I guess it could have been like a French accent. I don't know. I couldn't quite tell.
A fancy lady, a fancy
Yes, it's a fancy guys.
from, the Russell House Art Foundation in San Francisco saying that they've accepted Lily's application for the art fellowship, which, by the way, didn't we know that already, that she got the fellowship?
I mean, it may have been like communicated to her in person, then like it gets a formal thing later.
Okay. Alright, I can live with that. So Lily looks panicked and basically just tells Robin to just knock, and she hangs up. She has to obviously go deal with this situation. So Robin's like, "Okay, I'll just knock," and she does so. Ted answers the door, and the string quartet starts playing, and, Robin's smiling. Her initial reaction, she looks pretty happy about this. Ted says, "I'm crazy about you. I think we should be together. What do you say?" And Robin looks in this moment absolutely enchanted, and we go cut to commercial break. After commercial break, back at the apartment, Ted says, "What do you say?" Robin says, "Yes, no, I don't know." Ted says, "Well, those were the 3 options." Robin, understandably, is totally thrown. She's just sputtering like, I mean, I walked into my apartment. I was just planning on watching some Jeopardy, and there's a string quartet, and I have to pee." That was so cute. I really related with her so hard because sometimes, like, you have to pee on in a really, inconvenient moment. This poor woman just wanted to go back to her apartment and pee and watch Jeopardy. So the quartet stops playing. They all wait patiently for Robin to go pee. And then while they're waiting silently, the cellist starts up again about the pizza. Robin re-enters and the quartet resumes playing. But she wants to talk to Ted alone, again, understandably. So they stop. I actually thought the way that, like, the string quartet starts and stops throughout the scene, it was really good comedic timing. But anyway, they file out into the hallway. Robin's complimenting them and blabbering, like, "Oh, yeah, it's just like an inside joke." She's rambling a little bit. But then they start talking. Robin reminds Ted of the reasons that they shouldn't be together. I mean, they've just started being friends again. All these fundamental incompatibilities, whole reason that they didn't get together like 8 months ago, those haven't changed. And now, there's this additional complication. She points out that we're friends now. So if we break up and we stop being friends, what do we do? And Robin says that she needs some time to think. So Ted's response is, okay, think on the plane to Paris. Let's just go to Paris together.
He's starting to get a little bit manic here.
He, yeah, he's not listening. He's
Yeah.
getting really overzealous. He's extremely overwhelming. And it's like, it's not even about Robin's feelings in this episode. I think it's really about his feelings. Oh, anyway, Robin's like, well, like logistically, I couldn't even go to Paris this weekend because I'm going on this work retreat. We cut to that back to a new segment, and Lou's updating us. This fictional tropical storm.
There's one bit that's really funny here. Ted's like, when did that happen? She's like an hour ago. And then on the screen it says, like an hour ago.
I love when they do that. Like an hour ago, Lou is updating New York about the storm, which apparently it looks like it just like bounces off the United States and flies off into the ocean like a pinball. And Sandy then announces that he's leaving Metro News One. Really appreciated the callback to the fact that he was like, "Oh yeah, I've loved reading the morning paper to you all."
Yeah.
I'll give the show credit. A lot of shows do not have a lot of consistency, and this show, like Arrested Development, is pretty good at calling back to things. And if like you're a super fan, you can really appreciate a lot of also like inside jokes, I guess, in the shows. So the news segment ends, and Sandy jokes that he quit so he could take Robin out to dinner. They can date now. And then he actually stops being Sandy Rivers for like a minute here and talks to her like a normal human being and says, "Look, I got a job at CNN." And then when Robin congratulates him, he's like, "Well, congratulations to you. I recommended you as my replacement." And this is where Robin agrees to have dinner with him this weekend, where apparently he's going to roast his weenies or whatever. I wasn't 100% sure why she agreed. I don't know if it had something to do with that like 30 seconds of him acting like a normal person, or she felt like obligated because he did something nice for her, or what did you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess with Sandy, I guess he's mostly boring and like very blunt about what he wants. They never make him come off as like really pursuing. He's not like being actively terrible about it. So it's more like, hey, I'm putting it out there. If you want it, I'm here. And now he's done something nice for her, and she's like, oh, maybe he's not so bad. I don't know.
Based on the subsequent conversation between Robin and Ted, it sounds like Robin wasn't even 100% sure of her own motivations, which he justifies as being okay. So back at the apartment, Ted, laughs and he just jumps on her. He starts interrogating Robin about whether or not this is a date.
Well, but before we get back, one thing I wanted to point out is that when Sandy is reading his announcement that he's leaving on air, Robin is really weirdly like having trouble holding a smile. I couldn't figure out why she was doing that.
Oh yeah, I was watching Robin's face during that scene, and I think she was trying to convey like surprise, like this is obviously news to her, and then she was trying to like maybe collect herself and just put like the TV smile back on.
It just, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was like just overdone, but it was rather weird to me.
Maybe it just wasn't the best face acting then.
Maybe.
Anyway, well, so I cut back to the apartment. Ted, just kind of laughs like almost meanly, and then immediately starts just jumping down Robin's throat about whether or not this is a date. And Robin gets defensive and it's like, yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know if this is a date. I don't know if I'm into him. I don't know if I don't know any of this. That's okay. I do not plan everything out like you do, Ted. And then Ted's like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't plan everything out. And Robin calls him and she's like, look at this. Like, why couldn't you just like come over like a normal person and been like, hey, let's go out for some sushi? Like this was just she was obviously so overwhelmed by Ted overdoing this. Ted says that I think we're past the point of let's go out for sushi. Come down to earth, Robin. You're so terrified of anything, real. Make a mistake with me. So interesting again that he keeps framing this potential relationship in terms of like a mistake.
Mm. Well, I guess in terms of like what they're doing, like they both on an intellectual level think it will be a mistake.
Yeah, and certainly even on Robin's part too. Obviously, she's got feelings for Ted too. He's not alone in that. I'll give him that. Ted Fully demands an answer right here, right now. Since he just issues an
Yeah.
ultimatum here. First, he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, you can have time to think." No, wait, you can't have time to think. You need to say yes right now, basically. And Robin says, "Okay, well then, if you want me to say yes right now, I cannot do that." And Ted says, "Okay, well, I guess it's no."
But I think on some level, it's maybe right that it like, well, okay, pretending we don't have the end of the episode at this point. If Robin isn't sure what she thinks about it, such that she can't say yes, then that's probably the right call as far as Ted's concerned. He wants someone who's ready to jump in with him, and she's not. He's depressed about it, but it should be something that is like, okay, Robin's not at that level, and like take it from there. But
mean, yes, I think that he deserves to be with somebody who's on the same page with him in terms of what she wants and what she wants with him. And it's definitely not a good sign if, she needs time to think. But I don't think it was a fair position that he put her in. He assaults her with this grand romantic gesture and demands an answer. And it's I don't even think she's saying, I need to think about my feelings for you. It's I need to think, does it make sense to act upon?
yeah, sure, absolutely.
At McLaren's, I don't know how long after this failed grand romantic gesture this was, but Ted's sitting kind of despondently at the table at the bar with, the gang. They're trying to comfort him, but Ted's like, "Nope, nope, screw it, this ain't over." And they're like, "Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me!" Because Ted, just like 10 minutes ago into this episode, you were like, "Okay, one last gesture, and that's it." He's being too persistent here. So Ted kind of storms off to the bar and Barney follows him. Now we get to the point in the episode where I think arguably we've got the more interesting B plot, which is between Lily and Marshall. So Lily asks Marshall to unpause, and he agrees to unpause. And then future Ted goes, "Okay, pause." And he explains that Lily and Marshall had this rule where during fights, either of them can apparently put a pause on the fight. And I guess as a consequence, their fights can actually last several days. I was wondering if I thought this was a good system. And I think
Yeah,
the only argument I could see in support of this is like maybe if you got like you're out in public and you've got like your kids with you or something, and you don't really have the luxury or the time to get into it, and you just have to
yeah,
compartmentalize, maybe, but it doesn't seem really feasible. What did you think?
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I haven't been in a relationship long enough to really have to deal with this kind of thing, but it feels like there may be some practical reasons why you might want to try to compartmentalize. But I think practically it'd be hard to. You can't just turn off the, like, negative emotions around the issue. There's the adage of, like, "Don't go to bed mad."
Hmm.
Um, so, like, yeah, I think is, better to try to resolve it sooner than to, like, put off.
And sometimes fights take time. I get that, but one thing I did like about this, and you see this at points later in the episode, I don't think at every point, but it seemed sort of like at times they were in the fight together. Like it seemed like there was an understanding that they were still like they were a couple, and it wasn't even about them like having a fight with each other. It was okay, we're having this fight and we're dealing with that fight together as a couple. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's not the way it ends, but I liked the spirit with which that started out.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't get too much in the fight at this point. Essentially, Lily's just saying that she was never going to take the fellowship. So now we join Ted and Barney at the bar. And
So it is interesting though, like, at this point, Lily's insisting she's never gonna take it, and Marshall's upset about her applying. I feel like there's a window there where Marshall could have accepted, "Oh, it was okay, I mean, that's weird, but whatever, that you're not gonna take it, great," and that could have been the end of the argument.
I don't know. I think I get where Marshall's anxiety is coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to talk about until we like get like more of the fight
Yeah,
going.
yeah, let's talk about it later.
So Barney at the bar is again trying to talk some sense into Ted. And he says, like, barring an act of God, like she's gonna go on this camping trip this weekend. And then Ted looks up at the TV and at the weather and just dramatically declares that he's gonna make it rain. Cut to commercial break.
Alright, we come back from commercial, where, McLaren's, Ted reiterates that he's gonna make it rain because people don't remember after, like, 3 minutes of advertising. Barney offered to slap Ted again because he enjoyed it the first time, and then Ted brings up a woman that Barney had went out with, once, Penelope. And he wants Barney to contact Penelope so that she can teach him a rain dance. So I'm just curious because, okay, so Barney went out with someone long enough that the gang could learn that she had a PhD in Native American culture. And Barney also learned that about her. That's interesting. Barney processes this request and then slaps Ted. Then Ted slaps Barney. And then they have a little slap fight for a bit. And then Ted walks out of the bar and Barney follows, yelling at Ted, forcing him to be the voice of reason. And it's not a good look on him. Then we find ourselves in a library. Ted and Barney are at a table with Penelope, who Amy Acker.
Yay!
Yay. And she's clearly still pissed at Barney, asking why she should help him. Barney says in this innocent voice that they had a relationship, and Penelope clarifies that they had sex twice in his car and then he dumped her. How is that a relationship? Barney says, twice, and gives a little nod to Ted. Penelope is yelling, but then another patron shushes her, and Barney pretends like he's disappointed in her. And then Ted takes his turn. When Ted says it's for a girl, Penelope is offended that a sacred ritual would be used for such a thing. But then Ted explains that it's to stop Robin from being with the wrong guy. Penelope asks if he's an asshole like Barney, and Ted says yes. Barney acts offended, but Penelope quickly says, "You hit on my mom." And then Barney retorts, "We weren't exclusive." And that's very funny. But then the canned laughter does the ha he again. And that's, I probably won't point out every time I hear it, but it starts to get to you.
I don't always notice it. I had to listen really hard for it when you pointed it out, but luckily, like, I'm usually not aware of it.
But at this point, Penelope's in. She's going to stick it to someone like Barney. At the roof, Barney is drinking a beer, looking skeptical at this whole thing, while Penelope starts to teach Ted the moves. After the first squatting move that Ted does, Barney says it took 5 shots of tequila to get her in that position. And Penelope says, "I will throw you off this roof." He says, "There's so much of your mom in you." He wants
It's like bam, 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 like one great line after the next.
Yeah, they have a great banter, even though Barney is awful. Then we go to the vet, where Robin is talking to the vet about her dog who's on the table. She says her dog had been throwing up ever since Ted's thing. The dog apparently got into all the chocolate that Ted brought over. Robin tells the story to the woman veterinarian, and she thinks it sounds very sweet. Robin insists it's kind of crazy, and the vet says nobody does that. And Robin initially takes that as agreement, but then the vet clarifies that she would love for someone to do that for her. And she says, "Look, I guess I'm just a hopeless romantic." Then she says, "I'm going to put my hand up your dog's butt."
So a couple things. I actually really liked the way the vet delivered that line. Like, no, like nobody does that. Also, I don't know. I know it's probably for comedic effect, but I don't know why you would have to put your hand up a dog's butt if they ingested chocolate, because that's definitely happened to our dogs. I don't know if Willow's ever done that, but
Yeah, maybe at most like an X-ray, look for blockages or something, right?
that was the only thing I could think. That's right in, please. But yeah, you probably just give them like maybe some charcoal or some Epicac or something and
Yeah.
call it a day.
So yeah, I was wondering what you think about the scene because it seems like it exists to say Ted's actually a really great person and the thing he did is amazing and you should be thankful for it. And Robin's actually kind of stuck up and full of herself or something for not
Mhm.
appreciating what Ted did. It plays exactly like Robin's in the wrong entirely, rather than it being something like, yeah, Ted is over the top.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think that is how we are supposed to take this as the audience. I guess I have mixed feelings about this. I think because we as the audience know that Robin does reciprocate her feelings for Ted, I think it's reasonable to question, okay, how much of her reluctance is coming from genuine concerns about her and Ted's long term compatibility, Ted being overbearing, that being off-putting, like all these different things, and how much of it is Robin being maybe commitment phobic. Because again, this is me maybe knowing kind of what happens later on in the series, but I think that's a fair thing to lay at Robin's door. That even though I don't like how Ted immediately went after Robin when she didn't get on board with him, I don't. I think there's a grain of truth there. I think that she might be scared to get real with her feelings. I think that was a fair assessment in a way. So that's really the only thing that's making me have some mixed feelings about this scene. Now the vet doesn't know this, but because the audience does, I don't know, maybe it's just it's not a nuanced enough scene to allow that other perspective of, okay, Robin's feelings are also completely valid here. He did come on strong. That was kind of a crazy thing to do. He wasn't really respecting her feelings. He was just interested in professing his own.
Yeah, where's the person telling Ted, "Hey, maybe you just freaked Robin out and, like, you should tone it down a little bit."
Those voices are, if we get those voices, they're probably at McLaren's right now telling Ted to back off, but kind of for different reasons than what I think you and I are saying.
Yeah. So back in the apartment, Lily and Marshall are back at it. Lily is incredulous that Marshall would forbid her from going. Marshall, of course, never said forbid. He just hoped that she saved the date for this very important wedding they had. And Lily says sorry, but she needs to do this before settling down. And Marshall points out that Lily has slipped from never going to do it to I need to do this.
Lawyer.
Yeah. Lily rationalized the shift as being after he said she couldn't, and Marshall yells that he never said that, and then asks the big question, if she has all these doubts now, what would change in 3 months? Maybe they shouldn't get married at all. And Lily very quickly agrees, and then they realize what they just said, and they both say pause. And Lily says she's starving, and Marshall suggests Red Lobster. And now this is maybe one of the most ridiculous scenes of the series so far, I think. We're at Red Lobster, and we have that little, I forget what they're called, but like an establishing shot of like a Red Lobster, probably in Times Square. It has like 5 different light up Red Lobster signs. There's like a CD screen above one of the signs. And then inside, Lily and Marshall are at the table with these lobster bibs on. They have lobster in front of them. And Lily is singing a little happy song about lobster being delicious. And Marshall super enthusiastically says he loves butter sauce, and his fingers are like covered in it. And do you like lobster, Mickey?
Oh, you know what? I used to not, and then I'd say honestly, in the past year or two, I started getting into it.
Interesting.
Do you?
I
Or not?
don't. Well, the flavor's a little strong. Like if it's in like mac and cheese or something, the flavor's a little strong. Like
Yes.
it's not bad flavor, but it's just like really strong.
It's either in
I,
mac and cheese or ravioli or
mm. And then I did try a lobster roll, the mayo based sauce,
yeah,
and just the lobster itself is so kind of chewy.
it can be.
Yeah, I mean, I have a thing with texture, so that I couldn't do that.
Mm.
The one thing I am still willing to try is maybe lobster with butter. I feel like the butter maybe would be a better flavor and cover the lobster flavor more, but
But then,
yeah.
like, if it's so good, why do you have to cover it?
Well, there's that too.
You know? Also, can I say I actually worked at Red Lobster, and I think they might have actually filmed this in a Red Lobster, but otherwise, the interior, like, they got it right. It looks
Oh,
exactly.
I forgot to say special thanks to Red Lobster, and I would not be surprised at all if it was like a paid thing. I didn't look it up, but like they mentioned Red Lobster a lot.
Red Lobster's gotten better. Honestly, it was disgusting, except for the Cheddar Bay biscuits. Those that would be, like, on my list of, like, my last meal foods is Cheddar Bay biscuits. They're so good.
I have never been to a Red Lobster.
No, we have to go when you visit. That's
I
what
thought they were all gone.
No, they're not. Here's what happened. They filed for bankruptcy as far as I remember. A new CEO came in and he started revamping things. And okay, so I refused to go for years because I worked there. I thought it was gross. And then Ukarsh, I guess, had never been to one. So we went and we had the delicious meal. It was so good.
Huh.
And the next time after that, it was just okay. So I think we should all go to Red Lobster when you're here.
All right, so they're trying to be very, very happy and enthusiastic about this food, but then Marshall just starts sobbing. Emily says there's no crying in Pause Land, and then she starts loudly crying too. And then the wait staff start doing a happy birthday song for the table behind them, and Marshall and Lily just start like sadly clapping along while crying. And yeah, one of my favorite scenes of the series so far.
I think me too. I thought you were gonna shit all over it for a second, but I was like, no, it's so funny.
Oh no, it's great. Yeah, so the commercial. We come back. We're back on the roof. Ted is dancing around while Penelope is just watching intently. Barney says, "Ted, this is funny. Still funny. Still and now it's sad." Ted asks Penelope if she's sure he's doing it right. She says she thinks so. Ted asks if she's ever actually seen a rain dance, and she says no. Ted stops, and Barney just laughs. Penelope says she's read extensively about them from a wide array of sources, first-hand accounts and critical narratives, but only a film strip as far as watching goes. A film strip. That's not even 90s. Or that's not even, that's 90s.
I wouldn't know how to watch a film strip.
Yeah. So Ted is upset because they've been making an ass of themselves for an hour. And Barney says, "What do you mean What do you mean we, white man?
It's like actually the choreographed based on like a real rain dance.
Mm, I mean, it might be. Yeah, I hope it is because that would maybe be less offensive than like actually doing completely made up things and saying it's a rain dance.
I'm not sure which would be more.
Actually, this would be a good opportunity for a cultural anthropology corner.
I was an anthropology major. Mickey's cultural anthropology corner. I have nothing to add really other than I don't know how to watch film strips, but I feel like if that was my focus, I probably would have gone and out and done some like ethnographic field work and like actually observed the rain dance. Sounds like maybe she's just a bad grad student. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a whole lot we could potentially say about is this an appropriate use of Native American culture in media?
This aged poorly?
It seems like at least it's not like on the face of it offensive because they're actually just being doofuses and they're portrayed as being doofuses doing this. But we're also probably not qualified to actually make that argument. So people,
Yes.
write in and let us know what you think about it.
I tend to be pretty chill about things like this in the media. Perfect example, like that episode of Community that got pulled from I don't remember which streaming service, the Dungeons and Dragons one, because Ching shows up and what's taken by some to be blackface. He's a dark elf. That type of thing doesn't bug me too much, but I
Yeah.
do agree that we're not necessarily the most qualified people to comment on that either. I think typically if the people participating in the potentially culturally insensitive thing, if like the joke's on them, that's usually that's like the line for me. That's usually
Yeah.
it, personally.
Yeah. Or it's portrayed like, yeah, this is something like people shouldn't be doing. All right, so back at the apartment, Marshall and Lily are on the couch, and then they unpause. Lily makes a plea for support, even if he doesn't like or understand it. Marshall says he wants to, but he can't, and that she's scaring him. Marshall asks if she can promise him that she won't decide to leave him forever while in San Francisco. And if she can't promise that, then they should break up. Lily starts to cry and says she loves him. She's not really explaining or anything. She's just like insisting that she still loves him. Marshall insists on her making that promise. Lily tries to pause at this point. Marshall yells that she can't pause, rightly wondering why she can't make that promise. Lily says to pause again, and Marshall angrily asks why she wants to pause, and then she leaps onto him to make out with him. But Marshall says that's a great use of the pause function, and they go into his room. I don't know if I really feel good about any of the way this went down.
I would not be in the mood at that point, but also how good is like Jason Segel's acting here?
Yeah, I mean, both of
But
them.
especially like his face. Honestly, his facial expressions in this episode throughout the whole thing, just I think about them years later.
Yeah, yeah, they're really good. I guess maybe I can sort of justify like they think it's possible that that might be the last time they sleep together.
Breakup sex.
Yeah.
Hmm. Maybe.
So, or like a desperate attempt to like reconnect and see if that helps. Maybe we can get more into it after the episode.
Mhm.
All right. So we go to the roof again. Penelope has left at this point, but Barney is slumped against the brick, going on his fourth bottle of beer, and Ted is just improvising a rain dance now. Barney boredly asks what Ted's doing. Ted says it's a rain dance, and Barney retorts that it's a fat kid with a bee in his pants. Ted says he doesn't think the Great Spirit is a stickler for choreography. Barney points out that Robin is leaving in half an hour, and he tries to confront Ted about the uselessness of this. This just spurs Ted into a mini speech, and he's yelling at the sky, telling the universe it has to work, it has to rain. Come on, come on, come on. And on the last one, his like arms are out wide, and he's just yelling at the universe. And on that last one, there's lightning, and a downpour starts. Now Barney is annoyed and says, "Oh, come on." And Ted is delayed at this and a bit manic. As he has been this whole episode, but then we see, shot of the streets of New York, and Sandy Rivers is under this umbrella reporting on the rain. At McLaren's, Barney and Penelope are watching Sandy on TV and having shots with a whole bottle of tequila in front of them. And they down another and then just make out wildly. I just have to say, girl, you have a PhD, use better judgment. Then we go to Robin's, and we're outside Robin's, and Ted gets out of a taxi, soaking wet, and he starts to go inside, but then he stops and he yells up to Robin, who opens her window. Ted says he's sorry for the trip being canceled. Robin says it's not his fault, but he says it is and asks her to come down. Robin objects because it's pouring, but Ted insists. She asks why. Ted says it's because he made it rain. He's done his part. And Robin says she's not dressed, but Ted still insists. And there's one read where Ted is being really inconsiderate here, but the other way to read this is, I think, as I was saying before, it's sort of like a final test. Like, is Robin really going in full throated, wholeheartedly into this relationship? Like, Ted wants to be absolutely sure that that's true, and wants her to want Ted more than not wanting to get soaked.
Mhm.
So Robin comes out of her bedroom, already half soaked for bleeding out her window. And then we get like a typical climactic How I Met Your Mother song playing in the background. She looks at the blue French horn on her mantle and grins. And we also see that she has already had like all the flowers like nicely arranged in her apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And the chocolates that Ted gave her, that they're unwrapped on the coffee table.
That coming in the
And
dog.
yeah. And she's about to run out with an umbrella, but Ted's right there at the doorway. So Robin says, I was gonna, and Ted says, I know. And they start to make out as the music rises. And then we get scenes in New York City, and it's daytime, and we see Ted exiting the apartment in the rain, and he's incredibly happy.
It's so earnest. Okay, I'm a little happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, so everything else about the episode aside, this last scene, if we can kind of divorce it from the previous context, which we'll bring back in a moment, the actual sequence from him getting to her apartment and
Mhm.
yelling at her and getting her to come down, him going up, that is a great scene.
It's
Like that,
yeah.
that's a perfect scene. So future Ted's saying, and that's how Rob and I ended up together. Turns out all I had to do was make it rain. And we see Ted in the taxi. He's looking out dreamily at the city. And future Ted says, as I rode home next morning, the city looked the same. The people looked the same. It all looked the same, but it just wasn't. In just one night, everything had changed. And then Ted gets out of the taxi excited, and then he sees something and his face falls. And we see Marshall sitting on the stoop, alone, holding Lily's engagement ring. Ted goes to sit next to Marshall and silently comforts him, and the camera lingers on them, pulling back above them as the rain falls, and then cuts to credits.
Marshall's Marshall's face here. Oh my god, it's devastating. I I get choked up.
Like, he does a little smile, but then it goes back to being sad and yeah.
Mhm. Oh my god, my heart cannot take it. Like, since the first time I saw that scene, that look on his face just haunts me.
Uh,
So good. Oh, it breaks my heart. What an ending.
what an ending.
Mhm.
I will say, I think so starting from, like, when Lily and Marshall on pause, like, the Lily and Marshall part was all very good.
Mhm.
And then I think the after Ted gets to Robin's apartment, it's extremely good. I will say the maybe the whole rain dance part and then, like, the orchestra part, that didn't work as well for me. And I think just in the broader context of the season, it does feel like this is all coming far too close on the heels to what he did to Robin and Victoria.
Yes.
Like, it's only been, like, at most weeks since that. Maybe a month. And, like, and on top of that, like, put Robin to a corner and yelled at her for not being immediately on the same page
Mhm.
after what he did to her. So, like, it feels like maybe there need to be, like, one more episode, 1 or 2 more episodes between maybe, like, showing them starting being friendlier and just, like, her forgiving him before even getting to this. Yeah, it does feel like came out really quickly, and that's, I think, dampened some of my feelings about the show, 'cause Ted feels, like, really selfish in doing this, and yeah, maybe Robin does, on some level, want him and, like, is afraid of commitment, but also it doesn't feel like he really had to force her into it in this sort of way. And I guess so there's another show, I don't know if I mentioned it, I probably mentioned it in the updates section, Superstore. Does that sound familiar?
I don't think it was you, but somebody in the last few months was saying how good that show is. I've never seen a single episode.
Well, I was the opposite, actually. So I
Really?
watched the first episode. And the thing with the first episode is, so there's the people who work at the store, and then there's, like, a well-educated person who's, like, taking a job there because, like, something hasn't worked out in his life. He's such a screw up in the job. He doesn't really take it seriously. He sexually harasses the female main character, who ends up being his boss. The point of the whole first episode is that female main character needs to learn how to have a little fun at work, which she learns from this new guy who comes in, and it just feels like an inversion of of what, like, it may be true on some level, like, maybe there's a storyline where, like, yeah, she does need to loosen up a little bit, but, like, you really they need to learn a lesson about being a screw up and to be taken down a peg, but the show completely presents it as, "Oh, she was, completely in the wrong and needed to learn something here," and I think they're doing a little bit that to Robin here, like,
Mhm.
she was really in the wrong to reject Ted's gesture the way she did and to want to take time and to not appreciate it fully. And that I think rubs me about the wrong way. It seems like the wrong kind of message a show should be putting out. Not just because in some sort of grand moral sense, but it feels wrong for the story. It feels wrong for the characters. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with all of that. And I think it's possible that both things are true, right? It's possible that Robin does need to learn to let her emotional guard down and let somebody in. And at the same time, it can be true that Ted is being overbearing. He's less interested in Robin's feelings and more interested in, he needs her to reciprocate his immediately, no matter what happened a month ago between, him and her and Victoria. And it would have been kind of interesting if maybe like Ramen was learning these things about herself from a guy where, because again, like, I'm not disputing Robin obviously has feelings for Ted. I am excited to see where the relationship, obviously we know where the relationship goes next season, but I'm excited to see it. But it would have been interesting to see, maybe where there was a guy that she felt like she liked enough, where she felt, courageous enough to just go for it, that didn't involve all that baggage and stuff that accumulated with Ted over the past season. Or, alternatively, where, you've got the storyteller saying both of these things are actually happening simultaneously, where, Ted isn't respecting Robin, he's pushing her, he's demanding everything be on his terms. And also Robin's already in this place where it's difficult for her to open up to the possibility of a relationship. Yeah, I like that point. I think I agree with everything you said.
A few episodes ago, like, there was this big storyline for us about Robin had these really deep feelings for Ted that she really wanted to explore, to the point where she was, like, trying to deport Victoria, uh,
Yeah.
and, yeah, I guess that it feels like maybe we're going back to the original Robin in terms of characterization here, rather than, like, the Robin who really deeply had feelings for Ted later in the season. Even in the Milk episode, it seemed like she was, like, jealous of Ted going on this date, and here, I mean, maybe we could chalk it up to the grand gesture being, like, something that really put her off, but it does feels like that wasn't present, the element of her feelings for Ted weren't present in this scene, and it might have been nice.
In the final scene, or like the
Well,
penultimate.
not scene, yes, but, like, in the earlier scene with, like, the orchestra.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like, she seemed happy about it.
Yeah, maybe it would just need to be played up a little bit more. Also, she doesn't even mention the incident with Victoria here. Does she?
She kinda, like, obliquely references it. She says, "You and I just started being friends again." At this point, I think I'm just, like, trying to get myself on board with the fact that they now are in a relationship, and I don't dislike them together. I actually do enjoy Robin and Ted together, as we're gonna see
Yeah,
this
yeah, I
season.
agree.
Usually, I'm not going to afford Ted a very generous read on anything. Here, I'm trying to, maybe because I know what's gonna come up in the next season. I'd like to think that Robin did get what she asked for initially, was time. She did have time to kind of think it over and process it, because I think by the end of the episodes, like, she was on board. She was willing to grab that umbrella and run down the staircase. I think she was fully on board. I don't think she was fully on board, obviously, came in with a string quartet and all that.
I guess it does, like, the whole episode reads as, like, the only thing that was preventing her from saying yes in the first scene was her intellectualized thoughts about Ted and the relationship, like, she was overthinking it,
Mhm.
she had just realized what she had in front of her, she would've, like, said yes, and that feels
Ye
like maybe a weird lesson from the episode.
Yeah, I agree with that because there's a lot of things you could take away from this scene, like I think we are, but I think the intent was Robin should have been on board immediately. She was commitment phobic or she didn't, appreciate what was right in front of her, to your point. I think that is what we're supposed to take away as an audience, and I don't like that. I don't like that either. One thing I did note when I was watching this through the second time this week, I did notice that both Ted and Marshall gave the woman in their lives an ultimatum. Ted insisting that Robin say yes or no right now. Obviously, it ended up working out in the end. But Marshall, I think he was a little bit more in the right to demand an answer from Lily as far as, can you promise that you're not going to leave me? And obviously, for him, a very different outcome. So okay, well, what do we think here? Are we on Lily's side in any way?
Oh, I guess, there's a couple levels you have to read it. On one level, yeah, she already promised, like, she made promises to Marshall and they committed and she could do the things she wants to do in the relationship. So if she's doing this, that means she wants to put some distance in the relationship. On the other hand, like, Lily as a person is feeling what she's feeling, and I don't know what the right way is for her to express that, but, like, I guess we have to extend her that right that she has to process whatever her issues are, and probably taking those issues into the relationship might actually be a bad thing for the relationship.
Mhm.
I probably would help them to get, like, a couples therapy at this point. But yeah, I guess that's the only little branch I can give to Lily is that, yes, whatever your feelings are valid and they have to be dealt with in some way, but huge but.
Yeah, I think so too, because the last couple episodes, I think Lily herself, I mean, us as an audience, but Lily herself was trying to, like, I was watching it and trying to figure out, like, does this really have to do with you wanting to be an artist and live abroad and all these different things? That those kind of seemed like excuses to me because, as everyone's kind of pointed out to her, you can do those things in New York. I'm sure if she'd said, Marshall, let's go move to Paris for a year, he'd be open to that. Obviously, there'd be some logistical factors to take into account, but I don't see Marshall being the kind of person who would hold Lily back. He's not that kind of guy. So I think what it really came down to at the end of the day was Lily and Marshall got together early when they're very young, and Lily didn't have the opportunity to get to know herself before launching into a serious relationship. So,
Well, actually,
mhm,
sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
How long was she with Scooter before breaking up with her?
two
Year?
years actually. You're right.
So she dated him for 2 years, and then she went to college and immediately met Marshall, and
Mhm.
they've been together ever since. So she was never single as an adult, really.
Yeah, yeah, and as someone who's been single for a long time and then in relationships for a long time as an adult, I it sounds cliche, but I do think there's something to be said for having the space in the time to you can just develop yourself. And like, obviously, this was a best case scenario. Yeah, she did end up with Marshall really young, but and yeah, he ended up being, spoiler alert, they end up getting back together. He is the love of her life, and that's a great thing that happened to her. But, that did come with a price in a way, so I cannot fault her for feeling the way that she does. I think it really comes down to what I think I was talking about last episode, where she wasn't really being honest with herself, let alone Marshall, about her feelings, and then it just all blew up in her face, and this could have been it would have been a tough conversation, but I think it could have been a better conversation if this had happened months ago before she got backed into a corner or she got caught.
Yeah, I guess the question, like, when did she really start noticing these feelings, and did she even know what they were?
Yeah. Well, I think they started coming up after the whole Van Smoot thing, and she, like, all of a
Mm.
sudden, she had a wedding date that was looming in the pretty near future. I think that's when she started, like, getting the insomnia and everything, but, yeah, was she aware of them? No, I think yeah, so, like, I'm not mad at her. I'll respect her for finally trying to plug into those feelings and share them with Marshall. But God, it's hard not to be a little resentful toward her because I feel horrible for Marshall because he was clueless. He was absolutely clueless about this whole internally what was going on with Lily. I mean, this came out of
Yeah,
left field. He was like, all I had to worry about was Ted stealing the last pudding. Next day, like it's like end of a 90 relationship.
yeah. I guess what do you think about, like, her not even promising that they would be together again? Like, why do you think she couldn't make that promise?
I mean, I do think she loves Marshall, but maybe that was part of the point. She was always like, I don't necessarily want my whole future planned out. Kind of the whole point was trying to figure out herself outside of Marshall. And then what if she figured herself out and she realized Marshall wasn't right for her, or at least right for her life? I can see why she wouldn't want to commit to that promise.
Well, we don't know. I guess we don't know. Like, did he decide to break up with her? Did she decide to break up with him? Did they just mutually just decide that the end of the fight before sleeping together for the last time was it? And so that was the breakup. Which maybe they had sex and he woke up and she wasn't there. Is maybe that makes the most sense. I guess I don't know if we find out, but like I imagine he woke up, he found she was gone, and the engagement ring was on the table.
Yeah, at this point, we don't 100% think even eventually we don't know all of the details of how they reached that decision. I think yeah, regardless of who said we are breaking up, I think this is really on Lily's end, for right or for wrong.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack. This is probably the longest post recap discussion we've ever had between these two relationships.
Okay, so I guess we maybe talk about what Lily could have done in her situation. Was there a different way Marshall could have handled it? Like, I guess, like, the ideal is, like, he says, "I understand, Lily, we can" like, the best case is we can move the wedding back to the original date,
Mhm.
and I hope you'll be back at the end of the summer. Or, yeah, I guess that seems like the only other option he could have suggested, but then, yeah, if he can't trust you, she'll come back, then why offer it at all? Because then he'd have to just cancel the wedding later, and he'd be alone without her. Yeah, is there anything Marshall could have done?
I mean, I think I would have been expecting a lot from him. I think in Marshall's shoes, I might have actually done the same thing. Like, okay, if I've got this person who I thought was on the same page with me now telling me, it's like the further along in the argument they got, the more it seemed like she was starting to admit, like, I want to break up. She was giving pretty strong signs of that. So I don't think I would have wanted to down.
It's a break, if not breaking up completely.
Yeah, it was almost like worse in a way that Lily wasn't clear about it.
Man.
Yeah, why. I get why, but yeah, I don't know what Marshall could have done that we reasonably could have expected of somebody in that situation other than because, he didn't tell her not to go, from what I remember. He, I think,
Uh-huh.
was honest about why it freaked him out. Well, I think he expressed that he would support it. I think that's what he had said. But then he explained, reason is because you're scaring the hell out of me. I don't know if you're gonna come back to me.
So, if we link this back to the summer abroad or semester abroad that Lily went
Hmm.
on, there was a whole story that it was the hardest time of Marshall's life, or at least of their relationship, and, like, he felt it almost killed them. Lily's end actually, I'm trying to think, in that story, did she mention Marshall at all?
What do you mean?
I mean, she mentioned, like, the long distance, like, she was very lonely.
Oh,
Gabrielle, was scared away by Marshall, unknown to her. I don't know if she said anything about the relationship being threatened.
yeah, I don't remember that. I think if she mentioned Marshall, there was less focus on it than Marshall had about. Yeah, that's a good point though. So yeah, I mean, so we already know maybe Marshall would feel insecure about Lily being away for a few months. For me, like I didn't overthink that at the time because I was like, oh, he was in college, he was a little less mature, but like now they're like 28 or however old they are.
Yeah, it was an art program in Paris. So she basically kinda did this. She was off on her own, away from Marshall, doing art
Hmm.
in a
Yeah.
location, like, famous for art.
So, are you saying, like, one of these experiences she's saying she didn't get to have because she was in a relationship with Marshall, she actually did get to have?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think those were excuses.
Although I guess we could say, I mean, maybe Marshall screwed it up for her because he was jealous. And so maybe that's maybe the only reason it made it a worse experience than it would have been. I mean, she doesn't know that that's why it was bad.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say, but I'm in mourning for this couple.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful because like we start the season with them like getting engaged, so happy, like they're the model couple for the entire season, and now they're apart. It seemed like the most stable, healthy relationship Although I guess we've seen now there are aspects that wasn't so healthy in
Mhm.
actually, and then it falls apart after not even a year.
I do appreciate that the writers were telling this story because I'm trying to think when I think of stories of relationships that I've seen in TV in particular, not a lot of high school or college sweethearts, not a lot of, I can't think of a single other, I mean, maybe, I'm misremembering, but I can't think of another storyline where you've had like a couple hours together that long and then they ended up breaking up over something that was kind of realistic, actually. I don't know if it was perfectly executed. Again, I could have used a little bit more of a runway to get up to this point because, we really only start learning about these feelings from Lily, maybe like the last, yeah, I guess like 3 episodes of the season. But other than that, like actually, I like what the writers did with the story, even though it makes me really sad.
Yeah, yeah, that was really well done. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like there could have been, like, just another couple episodes, but also because it's supposed to be a comedy, I guess I don't know how much of the dramatic they could have done as like, building up the tension over multiple episodes. Maybe that wouldn't work so well for a sitcom.
And maybe, as we get further in the series, and I'm assuming at that point the show will have established some trust with the network. They start taking bigger risks in terms of dramatic storytelling, and that's a really cool thing the show ends up doing. And we're getting a little taste
Sure.
of that now, because it's not like dramatic plot lines don't happen in other sitcoms, but this was a doozy.
Yeah, definitely. Alright. So, what do you have for that so lots for this episode?
I had a few of them. Usually I have none. I had like 3 of them this time, but the main one I'm going to say is That's So Aughts is the trope of somebody discovering a secret by playing a message on an answering machine.
Uh-huh. Yep, yep.
So Gilmore Girls. How about you?
I actually did not pick one out, but I think I'll have to take the, tube TV.
Well, then Nick, how do you rate this episode?
Okay, I will give it 4 out of 5 PhDs in Native American culture.
That's a good one.
How about you?
I will give it 4.5 engagement rings. Sad one. Yeah. What led to your rating?
I wanted to give it a 5 because it's just the finale, but, the first half of the episode kind of dragged a little bit for me. I was more, like, upset about Ted, and are we, like, spending a third of the episode on this questionable application of Native American culture? But the Lily and Marshall storyline and the end of the episode pulled through. And also, how close it is to, like, when Victoria,
Mhm,
Robin, so yeah, it's a solid 4 out of 5
mhm.
for that reason. Let me
Honestly, all the same reasons. Those were all the factors I took into consideration.
Alright.
We did it, guys. We did it. We did it. Da 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 da. We finished the entire season. We did it. We did it. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Dora the Explorer too.
I was gonna say, where'd that come from?
It came from Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, we made it through a one whole season of the show, and nobody has heard this yet, so yeah, next week we'll do a season wrap up and talk about how we'll go into the next season.
Thanks for listening to Puzzles, a How I Met Your Mother Re-Rewatch.
Please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app and follow us at Puzzles Re-Rewatch on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also send us your thoughts, questions, and feedback to puzzlesrerewatch@gmail.com.
Leave us a review, or if you're not into the socials like yours truly, tell a friend about our show.
See you next time.